What if you could turn your passion for helping others into a career that changes lives, starting with your own? Join Empower's Certified Professional Empower Coach Academy, accredited by the ICF and powered by Oregon State University. Our next cohort begins February 28th. Visit yesempower.com to reserve your spot today.
Welcome to Rewired. I'm your host, Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training. Friends, welcome to Rewired episode 23. I am coming to you today to talk about this idea of just reminding us that lightness, the idea of purposefully bringing joy, laughter, moments of lightness is not escapism. We can purposefully and intentionally create some islands right now in this very heavy reality that we are all in, and that we don't have to feel bad or shameful about having moments of joy in what feels so maybe hopeless for many of our listeners. And so we're going to focus on really staying regulated in heavy times today. Before we get to that, I want to say a couple of things. One, if you are interested in becoming a certified professional coach backed by the International Coaching Federation in a brain-based coaching program that is embedded within Oregon State University, we are opening right now for our 6th cohort. It begins at the end of February, and we have some space. So I will put show notes, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But if you are interested, you can join me any Thursday, and I will give you loads of information, or we can schedule some individual time and let you know all about it. So that is happening right now. I want to put that on your radar. Second is I have 1 to 2 open coaching spots available. So if you are interested in working with me directly through brain-based coaching, I have a spot or 2 available. So again, I will put the link to that and your ability to sign up for just a free compatibility session to see if we make a good match in the show notes. You can find all of this at yesempower.com. And then finally, I want to let you know, I have a couple listener questions that were sent in. I was hoping to get to it today, but I was actually hoping to record this about 3 days ago. So today I just decided I will not get to those questions just yet, and just make this a little bit easier on myself and get this episode 23 out. It's ready. It's time. We need to talk about building in some purposeful joy and lightness right now. But also, if you have questions and you want to write in, I would love to hear from you. So we have coaches, professional coaches that focus on anxiety, mindfulness. We have couples coaching expertise. We have a coach who focuses on ADHD. We have folks who coach on executive, leadership coaching, and a coach who works with people who are thinking about leaving maybe a toxic relationship or are in a crisis heavy divorce situation and want to get coached. So, and that was episode 22. You heard that last week with Delma. Lots of folks where you can bring in a question and I will bring those questions to our expert coaches and then record it. So just want to remind you, again, it'll be in the show notes how to send that in, but you can just simply send it to info@yesempower.com. Okay, let's get into today's topic. I will say, bring things that when I do the solo episodes here that are just speaking to me and on my radar and needing some attention. And so this is no exception. I am bringing this to us because I can, oh my gosh, so overwhelmingly get heavy and feel hopeless the second I tune in to social media, to the news, or whatever version of the news the political climate is allowing us to hear. It's so suffocating for me. And I know for many, in fact, we offer a mindfulness broadcast every Friday. And I asked the group on Friday, how in the chat, put one word that you're feeling right now. And the words were all about hopeless, overwhelmed, exhausted. They were all in that heavier type of emotion that is heavier for us to carry, and especially for long periods of time. We are biologically wired for threat detection. You've heard me talk about this a lot, right? That amygdala, these systems that are built in, it's how we've evolved and survived as a species, but not for 24/7 global crisis consumption. So I want you to just think about that. The way that we are digesting what is happening in the world right now, where it is in our pocket, on our phones, in our news feed. It is skewed because anybody can post, and media censoring is already happening and underway. And so we're not only getting news, global crisis consumption news all of the time, but it's also exhausting to try to filter, is this real? Right? Is this AI? Is this a person, but they're just embellishing this? Or like, what is real? What is actually happening in the world? The human nervous system evolved to respond to immediate local threats. So there is a pack of coyotes coming into our camp or cave, and we need to react to that right now for survival. And then ideally, we win and we are safe. And then our body gets out of that nervous system response and back into our optimal state, that parasympathetic response. So we aren't wired for this, the constant updates about global crisis, political mayhem, storylines that just you couldn't even make up if you tried, climate change, economic pressures, human suffering, animal suffering at the whim of all of these things. They're delivered to us in real time, and they're blurred and exaggerated and terrifyingly true all day long. And our brains are incredibly efficient at scanning for danger, right? We've talked about this. This is that constant star of Rewired, the amygdala. It's fast. It is designed to pick up the threat and send it down to survival brain or lizard brain before we even think, before our prefrontal cortex even notices the threat. Sometimes it's proactive if we think about it in that state, and it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. We are not designed to stay in that sympathetic nervous system, amygdala, lower brain activation. Our optimal state of being is that parasympathetic nervous system. It's when our body is functioning at its best, when our organs are doing what they're supposed to be doing, our digestion is happening, all of those things we need, and even says to that prefrontal cortex, right? So if you've been feeling, I guess what I'm just trying to get down to, anything close to what I've been feeling, which I think is really a common feeling right now amongst many of us, not even just in the United States, globally, anxious, irritable, overwhelmed, exhausted, or just like strangely numb. You're not broken. You are adapting. And I want to make some space for that. Before we go any further, let's just take one slow breath together, because it's a lot to hear all of that. It's a lot to feel all of that. So I'm going to do it. I want to invite you to do it. Just inhale through your nose and exhale a little longer than you inhaled. That's a breath process that activates our parasympathetic nervous system. There's no fixing, there's no forcing. It's just a moment of support for your system, for your human experience. A couple of these a day, a couple of these an hour can be really, really transformative to which part of the brain we are bringing into the next few moments. So you can pause and just keep doing that if you'd like. I'm going to keep trucking with the podcast.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to make a real difference? Become a certified professional coach with Empower Coaching and Training. Our next CPEC cohort, accredited by the International Coaching Federation and offered in partnership with Oregon State University, starts February 28th. Spots are limited. Learn more at yesempower.com.
So to kind of sum it up here, the beginning, the intro, there is a lot happening in the world right now. A constant hum of uncertainty that never turns off. And underneath all of it, I keep hearing the same quiet question. How do I stay informed and engaged without falling apart or shutting down? It's so fundamental to my own constitution, my own state, that I am informed, that I engage in democracy, that I am a active participant in my political scene and in my constituent area, and that I help speak for people who don't have such loud voices or that don't have platforms or so forth. Standing up for what I believe is right. That is just part of who I am. And at the same time, I also want to be able to do that without getting lost in it, without losing my ability to find joy and connection and partake in the healing of laughter and relationship and trust and optimism. How do I balance this? How do I do this? And I know that is a question that many of you are asking as well. Because the nervous system can only process so much threat before it starts to protect us by pushing us outside of our capacity, I think this is a question that is worth examination. And I definitely have thought a lot about it. We're a year into some pretty dramatic, drastic changes, I'll say, quote unquote, to our country, to the world, to our democracy. And so I've definitely thought a lot about this, and I'm kind of finding my space in it, but also finding more and more people who are asking the same question. So I wanted to bring it to Rewired, and would also love to hear from you. What are you doing? Share it in the feedback and the notes. You can email us and let us know. I think right now it's really important to share tips and tools and techniques and ways that we are keeping in the light so that we can also continue to shine our light. I want to talk about the window of tolerance. This is a concept coined by Dr. Dan Siegel. If many of you know him from the Flip Your Lid. I'm doing this right now for myself. If you don't know about that, that's a fun one. Go Google that. But he's brought some really amazing stuff to our world, certainly the world of coaching, but the world of neuroscience and emotional intelligence and parenting. And I would say his tools are applicable far outside of parenting, but that's been kind of his focus area that many people know him from. When we're inside our window, so inside our window of tolerance, we feel grounded, flexible, present, connected. And when we're above that window of tolerance, we tend to experience things like anxiety, anger, urgency, overwhelm, many of the things that I was mentioning earlier that I'm feeling a lot of. When we're below the window, so I'm hoping you're picturing this right now, when we're below that window of tolerance, we experience numbness, shut down, disconnection, or hopelessness. The other part of the things that I mentioned earlier. So in it, above it, below it. And here's something I think that's really important to understand as we talk about this window of tolerance. Chronic exposure to uncertainty and threat shrinks the window. When we're in the window, just to remind you, we are feeling grounded, flexible, present, connected, engaged, mindful, all of those things, right? So the more that we are exposed to things like we don't know what's coming up next, which is every single moment right now with job stability and state funding and all of those things, it shrinks our very ability to be in that place of tolerance. So it takes less and less then to push us out of it. That, again, I want to keep saying it doesn't mean we're failing. If you are feeling above the window and below the window most of the time right now, we have a right to be feeling that way most of the time right now. What we want to intentionally do is create moments that we go back into that window so that it doesn't shrink for us. The world is not going, especially right now, to create moments to widen that window, right? We can get on our phone right now and almost tangibly, palpably feel that window shrink. So if we're feeling that way lots and we're feeling it harder and harder to ground and to be present and to be mindful, it doesn't mean you're failing or that anything is wrong with you. It means your nervous system is doing its best to help you feel safe. It's threat and it's accessing the part of its brain that is going to deal with that threat. Except that so much of what is happening is utterly out of our control, right? So our brain is doing its best to keep us safe, giving us all these feelings that move us, giving us all these emotions that move us into action. But that system for this particular issue isn't necessarily helpful. Right? We can't just go fix climate change. We can't just go fix a failing political system. We can't just go change what's happening. And there are so many people who are trying. And we've got to be aware of that nervous system and how we can get purposely and intentional into that window of tolerance so that our actions really can make an impact. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's talk about a reframe. So what I want to do is talk about lightness. And when I talk about lightness, I'm really talking about that window of tolerance. So moments where we are accidentally or intentionally going into that window of tolerance. I'm going to call that lightness. And thinking about that as a regulation tool, as something that is so important for my activism, for my engagement, for all of the ways that I want to show up, I need to step into the light. This is where I want to gently challenge a belief that many of us carry, and I'm including myself in this sometimes, that being serious all of the time means we're being responsible. That joy means ignoring reality. And or that laughter or rest or fun is indulgent in times like this. I'm just pausing so you can kind of think about where your beliefs are as I read those things. Does that feel true? Does it feel familiar? Are there pieces of it that speak to you? How are you feeling when I say those things or name those beliefs? Neuroscience tells us that those beliefs are not grounded in reality. Joy, humor, awe, and lightness are not escapism. They are regulation strategies that keep us grounded and with the ability to access the part of our brain that we want engaged right now, that prefrontal cortex. Positive emotions help the brain broaden perspective and increase cognitive flexibility. Our ability to think outside the box, our ability to have empathy, to have compassion. Laughter activates the vagus nerve and supports social bonding. We're hardwired for connection. And think about how many of us are scrolling, doom scrolling on our own, right? Feeling more and more scared and more isolated. Awe has been shown to reduce inflammation and increase pro-social behavior. We did a whole episode on awe after I spent some time with my BFF in Utah. In other words, lightness doesn't disconnect us from reality. Rather, it helps us stay regulated enough to respond to it. So I would dare say laughter, joy, awe, lightness is our responsibility to go find and create and be in those moments. Allow ourselves to tap out of that 24-hour feed long enough to kind of reboot our system, to recharge our batteries. I think about these as like solar panels, right? Like if my activism or my voice or my ability to contact my representative and share my concerns and show up to meetings and all of those things, if that is kind of my battery fully charged, and that's a solar panel charging that system, stay with me, I'm coming through on this metaphor here, and I'm in the darkness 24/7, my battery's going to run dry, right? I've got to step into that window of lightness to recharge it so that I can show up purposefully and intentionally. If we find that we are judging other people for taking a road trip, laughing, talking about the beauty in the day, that's an indication to us that we might be really stuck in this above or below, and that our window is getting smaller and smaller for us, that window I was talking about earlier. So how do we stay informed without being flooded? And that's honestly what I'm working on right now. I've got the other bit of it. I know that I want these other parts, that I do these other parts. I purposefully do these other parts. So then I think, okay, how do I actually stay informed in a way that helps me feel educated, empowered, and engaged without staying outside of that window of tolerance most of my waking hours? So it doesn't mean we stop caring or stop paying attention. I tried that for a little while. I didn't stop caring because I can't, but I did try to I don't want to know, right? And that didn't work, obviously, for me. What was happening then was that I wasn't able to use my voice. I wasn't able to fight for democracy. I wasn't able to do those things because I wasn't even paying attention to it. What it means, what I'm learning, it means we learn how to stay informed without flooding our nervous system. And that's going to be unique for all of us. I'm going to share some of the things I do. Not that I've got it figured out, folks, for sure, but playing around with this. And again, this is why I want to hear from you all. How do you stay informed without flooding your nervous system? Or notice when that nervous system is flooded and you need to go create a moment of lightness. So here's a question I've been offering lately. Is this, and when I say offering, I'm to myself, I'm asking myself, is this information expanding me or collapsing me right now? And I'm a very visual, I always say visual learner, but I mean visual thinker, my thoughts come to me. I'm always imagining, visualizing the things that are happening for me or I'm thinking about or my beliefs. And so for me, it's a very visual, am I Am I feeling that empowered and engagement right now? Or am I feeling that I am outside of the window of tolerance so much that I'm almost seeing my window collapse or start to close? So if it is, if we're getting this information and it is collapsing you, again, it's not failure, it's reality, the weirdness of our reality right now. It's also building that awareness is a cue for us that our nervous system is asking for support. So it's not that we tap out of the news. It is that we notice what is happening for me right now as I read this. And then how do I support my brain and my nervous system and my endocrine system and this whole being that I am? How do I support this right now? Boundaries around engagement, intentional boundaries around engagement, I think it's really speaking to me. And I keep playing with it and trying to find where that is. But I think intentionally for me, having boundaries around my engagement of the news is really important. Boundaries are not disengagement. That boundaries are not it for me, I guess boundaries are about choosing how and when I digest it so that I can be empowered to fight the fight, right? It's not total disengagement and burying my head in the sand and calling that a boundary. So really it's when we're trying to balance this. How am I staying engaged with what is happening in the world? And how am I supporting my nervous system? It is possible to do both, but I think as the world gets wilder and wilder, it's more important than ever then that we're paying attention to what's my body's response to this and how do I keep stepping in the light? How do I keep going to that window of tolerance? What are the tools that I'm building in?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to level up how you lead at work and at home? Empower Coaching and Training brings brain-based coaching, mindfulness tools, and real-world strategies you can share with those you serve and live with. Get started now. Visit us at yesempower.com.
So let me offer, if I can, if you're still with me in this, a simple brain smart tool that you can use. So brain-based, neuroscience-based coaching tool that we can use now. So tool one is a time box information. So choose when and how long you engage with news or social media. And again, with all of the things that are happening and, with our constitutional right to have access to fair media as that is shifting and changing before our eyes, we have to evolve with that. Like, where is the right place to get news? And maybe there's a couple folks on the social media channels that are reporting correct and accurate news. And that's our job to go figure out who those folks are. Because for sure, there are a whole lot of people that are reporting news that is not accurate, it is not correct, and it is not unbiased. So really, what is it and when is it? When do I do these things? For me, I've definitely, I drop my child off at school. I've got 30 minutes before I get home. I've got time and space to process it. That is where I will drop into my news source, which for me, it's National Public Radio from like a, radio standpoint. And then through other folks, there's other people I follow on Substack and a couple people I'll follow on TikTok that I feel like this is true. It's really all I'm asking for at this point. This is true. And I choose when and how I'm watching those things. And sometimes it will sneak in because you can't always control the algorithm, right? And so something pops in and I have to really hold that and go, okay, is this a source I trust? Is this something I can process and manage right now? I'm going to note this and go back and do research this evening when that time box is open and maybe talk to other people about it, for example. Tool 2 is lightness on purpose. And this is the one I feel really on fire about, I would say, energized about, passionate about each day. And you can just start with one, but build on that as soon as you can. Each day, choose one small thing that reliably brings you delight. A friend and a laughter, a particular walk that you like, cuddling with your dog and just getting your fingers in the fur and rubbing on them, throwing the stick for them and just seeing their joy, having a moment with your children, drawing, painting, putting on. I was sharing, I bought these really beautiful beaded earrings that they're white and they have rainbow hearts on them. They just make me happy. That's it, for no reason whatsoever. I want to have things in my life that also bring me joy, and intentionally doing those things, because each time I do it, I'm making a promise and commitment to myself that I am responsible for my window of tolerance. So how am I tending to it? Right? That's what I think about with this second tool, lightness on purpose. Tool 3 is a window check-in. So again, we're talking about that window of tolerance. Maybe you call it a lightness check-in, or how are my solar panels doing? You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it a window check-in. But ask yourself, am I above my window? Am I below my window? Am I inside of it? And again, it's not that being outside of our window is wrong. Of course, we will feel anxiety and overwhelm and numb out and all of those things. That's part of our toolkit sometimes, right? It's just bringing our awareness to it. Where am I right now? And how can I support myself, right? So we're going to just take kind of a location question first, and then ask, what would help me move 1 inch toward the center? What would help me move towards grounded, intentional, mindful? Again, we're not heading right back to it, but we're trying to get at least a little closer to it so that we can be thoughtful about our behaviors, because those emotions are driving behaviors. And so just what can I do to get 1 inch closer to the light here? And maybe that's just a breath. And maybe it's a walk, and maybe it's a boundary, and maybe it's a whatever that looks like for you. All right, we got a couple more tools I want to go through, and I'll list all of these on the show notes as well. I always love to do that so you can go back and do homework. I mean, I am a professional life coach through and through. I want you to do your homework. All right, 2 more tips. Tool 4 is to think about an agency shift. So kind of a power shift, if you will. Name one small action that is within your control today. Agency restores dignity and hope. And I'll share with you what I'm doing. I found an app that is called 5 Calls, and it keeps me up to date on, we'd gone to a local meeting, and I learned about this app. And so I downloaded it and I've been using it. And it gives you kind of the topics, things that are happening in the world. So it's a quick way for me to feel informed. It's all fact-based and researched. And then you put in your zip code and it'll tell you, here are your, however many representatives for your area. You can call them directly. It helps give you a script that, of course, you can modify or use. You call and then you say, I either left a message or I spoke with somebody or whatever. That, for me, it is a way that it shifts agency. And I do it. I go every day. I feed my horse, and my horse loves me. I love my horse, but my horse is not very interested in me when he's eating. So I'll get his grain out. I'll get him all ready. And then as he's eating, I make the call. And it literally takes me, 3 minutes at most, but it really helps shift the agency. I feel myself go back into my window. Tool 5, and the final one I'm going to share on here, is co-regulation. And it's just the reminder, I said it earlier, we are hardwired for connection. Connection matters. So what is one text, one laugh, one shared moment, reaching out to somebody, sharing a joke. I laugh all the time about my partner and I always say our love language is TikTok reel because we just text them to each other all day long. Find, little ones, and they make us laugh. I mean, out loud sometimes, and it's really wonderful. And so sharing those things, having maybe a quote that you can go to that helps you feel connected to that author, to that ethos of that particular author, for example, working with a coach, having a night out with your friends that is just a fun one, right? Where you just go and maybe you do the paint and sip or whatever you do, or yoga together, but connection, getting back with people, and even having maybe conversations on topics, but through the context of relationship and humanity rather than this. I heard somebody call it the other day, like a keyboard warrior, right? We like get on there, we make all these posts, we do all these things, but we're alone in it. And so really building connection and community, which is so important for our human brains. So again, I want to hear from you. What are a few tools that you use? Please put them in the notes wherever you're listening to this, or you can email me and I'll make sure they get out there. Again, it's info@yesempower.com. All right. So I'm going to close us out here, and I want to leave you with this. We don't stay human by carrying the whole world all at once. And it feels so heavy right now. And it's so easy to carry it all at once right now because talking about our phones, but it's in our pocket. We're no longer carrying the world on our shoulders. It's like in our pocket all the time. We stay human by tending to our nervous system so that we can show up to those things that matter to us, that matter to our planet, that matter to our children, that matter to our democracy with clarity and compassion and choice. Hope isn't a feeling, and hope is not a game plan. Hope is a practice that fuels then these other behaviors, these other actions. We have to cultivate the hope and then move into action. And it begins in the body. Paying attention. Our body is such a wonderful communicator when it feels stressed. It gives us sweaty palms. It gives us dry mouth. It gives us a sick stomach, right? It gives us tingly limbs. It lets us know I am dysregulated. Showing up to regulate it is nothing short of a superpower that we can give ourselves. It is not escapism. Thank you for however you're showing up. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for the way that you are caring for yourself and for this world. And thank you for staying human in these very heavy times. If you would like support through coaching, training, or learning how to regulate in a dysregulated world, you can always find me and our team of ICF certified professional coaches at yesempower.com. Take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired, where neuroscience meets real life change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps people discover the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change. While you're leaving that 5-star review, please also subscribe and share an episode with a friend. Remember, the way you think shapes the way you live. Every intentional thought, every mindful choice rewires your brain and your life. So go live intentionally, live thoughtfully, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to transform your world. Until next time, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training. Stay curious, stay empowered, and keep rewiring for real change.
Every family has challenges, and every parent deserves support. At Empower Coaching and Training, youth and parenting coach Jasmine Chandler helps parents and young people find clarity, connection, and practical tools that make a difference. Visit yesempower.com to connect with Jasmine and explore our team of incredible coaches today.